welcome to today's webinar. Super excited about this hot seat that we're running today with Brad from Leading Edge Electrical. So I think we'll just jump straight into it. Brad, welcome, mate. Awesome to have you here.
It's a privilege to be here. Really looking forward to it.
Yeah, man. So I guess the first thing is maybe just introduce yourself. So tell us about your business, you know, what trade you're in, what your team is, all that sort of good stuff.
Yep. So I'm Brad from Leading Edge Electrical, based here in Hamilton, in the Waikato, New Zealand. Been operating for 13 and a half years. We're 14 years in October. So you've been doing it for a while now. Been a Sparky for maybe, how old am I? 40, yeah, I won't tell you how old I am, but about 25 years or 24 years been a Sparky. So it's been a few years now. So we mostly in the new build, new house build sort of areas, and a lot of renovation work, heat pumps, smart vents, and do a bit of domestic maintenance and small jobs as well. We have been touching on a bit more commercial work lately as well. So so we're sort of into sort of lots of sort of electrical sort of areas. Got 20 staff. Got our 21st staff member starting next month. That's made up of got an office manager, operations manager, estimator. Got a new office assistant starting next month. Got a marketing coordinator, I suppose, her role is, and then rest is made up from tradesmen and apprentices. I think we've got 9 tradesmen at the moment, and I don't know how many apprentices we've got off the top of my head, but it makes up 21 in total.
Yeah, nice job. I hear you've built some really nice houses, helped with some nice houses, particularly in Tamahiri, some good ones there.
Yeah, we did one in Tamahiri a couple of years ago, a bit of a tricky sort of climb, but we got there.
Yeah, no fire risks or anything, nothing to worry about. You could have upsold a bit harder though on that one, to be honest, because we're a bit short of PowerPoints at the moment, mate.
PowerPoints, hey, we can put some more of those in for you now if you want.
Yeah, pretty hard with the concrete floor, but you know.
Hey, where there's a will, there's a way.
That's right. Yeah, nice. All right, so look, we've worked together for a while, obviously, which has been a lot of fun. I guess what I'd like to do is sort of recap, sort of 2 parts to this. What was life like, you know, before we started working together, and obviously made some changes, and then probably some of the stuff that's happened more recently where you've gone from sort of an established business to really cracking on.
Yep.
So maybe we just kick off. What was life like before you actually joined the $1 Million Tradie?
So I sort of started out, I was obviously an electrician, and then sort of decided I was at the right time in life, and I thought I could do it better than my employee, my boss. So I broke away and bought a van and started up on my own, and raced around and did electrical jobs here and there and bits and pieces. A little bit of a global financial crisis came along a few months after I started, so that didn't help too much. But cracked along there for a while, and sort of didn't really know what I was doing. Wasn't really making any money. Had no idea really what I was doing on the financial side. It was good Sparky and really enjoyed being on the tools side of it. Enjoyed being my own boss and planning my days, but sort of struggling to make any money out of it. I got quite busy, so I brought an apprentice on. So I had myself and one apprentice, Jesse, and been racing around doing that for quite a while. Sort of spent a lot of time on the weekends looking at jobs, invoicing, quoting, doing everything really, and sort of running around like a bit of a just trying to fill gaps here and there and put fires out. So it was pretty tricky there, Tony.
Yeah, 100%. And what was it that made you actually decide to make a change?
I suppose it's that saying, if you keep doing the same thing, you keep getting the same result. And so I sort of did that for a few years, and wasn't really getting the rewards I thought I should have been getting from being a business owner and having the risk of being a business owner. I sort of felt like it was easier to be on wages the way it was going. I could do my 7:30 to 5 and go home at the end of the day and not work weekends and that. So I sort of thought, well, I was early 30s at the time, so I thought it was time to have a crack and sort of put all my all into it and see what I can make out of this thing. And I obviously realised the limitations of my skill set of what I could do and what I couldn't do, and realised I need to reach out for some help. So that's probably the catalyst really, was to change things for the better and get what I think I should get out of the business. Yeah,
and I can remember when we started working together, because I remember we did we did a direct mail campaign.
Correct.
So we sent, I think it was 120 letters to electricians around the Waikato area. And obviously you were one, and Damien May was another, I think, as well. So it's also a long-time client. So direct mail works for builders, works for coaching as well. It's good stuff. All right. What is, we've sort of touched on it before, but let's talk about what business looks like now.
Yeah, so now my business has got a lot more structure, obviously, with that team of 20-odd staff. I have people there that are sort of doing some of the main roles in the business. I'm no longer doing the the estimating and the operations, which are a couple of main roles which I've passed on to other people. So a lot of things happen now that I don't even know happens. Quotes will get accepted. I've turned off like my notifications quotes, so I don't even see when a quote gets accepted. Every now and then I have a look at it. It's quite exciting. We start jobs, and I sort of spend my time now trying to feed new clients and new customers into our system. So trying to build relationships with builders and developers and whatnot, push them into our system to get our estimator more jobs to price. And then once the job's been accepted, he's priced them up. He follows them up. Once they've been accepted, it sort of flows down to the operations manager, and he sort of runs all that. I don't know when people are off work really, or when anything's happening, or any changes. It all happens sort of. Rob, my operations manager, sort of takes care of all that. So it's definitely a different thing what it was earlier on when it was just me and Jesse running around. Lots of things happen now that I don't know about, and it's a different sort of beast now.
100%. So let's talk a little bit more about that. And team, as we go through today, like if you've got questions that you'd like to ask Brad about, please drop them in the chat. We can unmute you. I'm sure you'd be happy to answer questions.
100%.
Yep. So if you want to do that as we go through, that's cool. Let's do that. And we'll also have an opportunity to do that at the end, because I want to make sure you get what you need out of the session as well. And this is all about someone who's gone from yourself and Jesse and one van?
One van.
One van to, I don't know how many vans you've got now.
I think our 9th one turns up this month.
So there's a fair bit more going on, which is cool. So what are the changes or the results that you've had with your business growth? What has that actually meant for you and your family?
It's multiple things. I mean, one of the things probably is I have a lot more flexibility with my time. I can come and do this sort of thing.
Yep.
I wouldn't be able to do this sort of thing before because I'd be too busy at work on the coalface. So I have more time for my family. I can go and go to my kids swimming quite regularly now. Me and my wife spend a lot more time during the week doing things together. So you definitely a bit more freedom. In the weekends, I don't get any phone calls on the weekends about work. My ops manager gets quite a few phone calls on the weekend, but I personally don't. So sort of get a lot more shut off time from work, and on the back of that, I'm able to spend more time with my family, more quality time with my family. So that's probably the most important thing. The other thing is we're financially in a better position than we were before. Got a good solid income that's growing. We've been able to expand our property portfolio a bit and other investments. So we're sort of like sort of been good on that side of it as well, the financial side of it as well. So Yep.
So you've bought a building, and then you've bought the building next door because you needed to be bigger, right?
Correct.
Yep.
Correct. Yep. So we bought our first workshop, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, and then we just bought the next door one last year to over double our size now because we were at capacity.
Stretching at the seams.
Yeah.
And on the you've still got your house in Puketi, have you?
No. We're over in Rototuna. We pushed over Rototuna a couple of years ago and sold that house off.
Cool. Okay. And how does your feeling about business, because you're a pretty hard-working guy, and it'd be fair to say you sometimes used to look like a lizard. You're flat out drinking kind of thing. Well, you weren't drinking, but you flat out. Flat out. Yeah, you needed to drink to get through sometimes. Flat out like a lizard drinking.
Yep.
I got to get these jokes right, mate. There's some buttons here we could push, but we won't. So how does your feeling about the business, how is that different now in terms of your feeling of control or I don't know, peacefulness maybe is a word?
Yep. I think my whole thing's changed. Like I'm not a tradesman anymore. Well, I still am a tradesman, but I'm not a tradesman on the tools. I don't really go and do that sort of stuff anymore. So I really think about the business a lot more now. So I think I've grown into a business owner from a tradesman, and I really feel like I know a lot more about how the business operates. I know a lot more about how other businesses operate as well. I feel like when I meet people and discuss things with people, I feel like I've got a lot more knowledge than I used to have on how businesses operate and whatnot. So I've definitely changed into more of a businessman, and that's sort of when I sort of started out. When I first started the business, one of the things I wanted to do was I didn't want to be at retirement age still be on the tools. I wanted to get off the tools at some stage and become a business owner who sort of pulls the strings from the top. So that's what's really changed. Really, is a really turn into a business owner as opposed to a tradesman. Really.
Yeah. Okay. So actually, Chris just asked, is Jesse still with you?
Jesse just ticked over 10 years last year. So yep, he's still with us. I saw him this morning. Yep. So he's obviously 10 years. So it's been pretty impressive having Jesse along all that time. We're really good mates, and it's been really good to see him grow from he turns 30 this year, so grow from he turns 30 next month actually. Grew from a little 19-year-old who rocked in there, didn't know anything.
Hairs,
had no idea what he's doing. Now he owns his own house. Bought a house about 5 years ago. His life's going great, so it's good to see. I find a real reward from having someone along that long and their life change along the way as well.
Amazing, eh?
It's amazing.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about key milestones along the way. So we've gone from yourself and Jesse to basically out of the operations of the business and the pricing. So what are the key milestones along the way? I think this is important.
I think if I go back, let's say it was just me and Jesse from then on. Well, employing Jesse was a milestone originally, just getting an apprentice on board, and then we employed a tradesman, Rob, and that was a big milestone. I sort of employed Rob and another apprentice at the same time, and Rob I speak of as my operations manager now, so he's still around as well. So that was a pretty big milestone, and then I was operating out of our garage, so it was a bit pandemonium there towards the end, especially through winter with a lot of, like gear couldn't fit in my office, and our workshop was in the garage, double garage, so we bought that
Your
workshop.
office was in there as well.
My office was in there as well.
Must have been bloody cold in the winter.
It was bloody cold in the winter and hot in the summer, so it was a standalone garage, so it was pretty tough there, and getting deliveries during the day when no one's there, and coming back and it's been raining and all our deliveries, so it was a bit of a it wasn't the greatest setup, but hey, that's where you start out. Everyone starts out somewhere like that, and that was where we started out, and that's sort of when I first started. That's probably how I envisioned the business being until I started working with Profitable Tradie, and then so it was a big milestone to move out of the garage and buy a workshop. We did look around at leasing, and there were some beautiful buildings to lease, but we decided to buy something that was probably in a less desirable area, and I'm glad we did now because it's really paid off owning that building. So that was a big milestone moving into that building, and that sort of coincided with us employing our office manager, because we needed somewhere. I couldn't have the office manager in the garage, office in the garage. So that sort of coincided with.
Let's just pause on that. I'm sure we had several discussions about hiring an office person, and it was like, well, I can't because they're in the garage.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it was definitely So we definitely did, and I had someone doing some of my books then part time, but remotely. So definitely the workshop was a big thing, because that meant all of a sudden we could go from being a garage business to a proper business, and more space. And so we bought that building, built a nice brand new office inside there, and employed an office manager. That was probably the biggest turning point. That just changed us. That sort of changed my whole mindset. Was then all of a sudden it was like, oh, we've got a growing business now.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so that was awesome. And then Rob, we moved Rob into operations manager. That was pretty massive. That took me off getting all the guys' phone calls throughout the day, and he sort of took over all that. My phone was ringing 45 times a day. Now it rings about 4 or 5 times a day.
So good.
Rob's phone rings about 50 or 60 times a day. So I employed Rob, and he was we had him in our team for quite a while, known Rob for quite a while, and just employing someone with the right really good mindset and temperament for that role. It's been really, really good having him doing that role.
Because he came from another business where he was in that sort of role, but they just burnt him, didn't they?
Burnt him, yeah. He's doing lots of weekend work and just going too hard. So at the time, Rob came work for me just to have less, 45 hours a week instead of 60 hours a week. And and he just liked the environment more. And I knew Rob as well. I had worked at a company earlier on when he was an apprentice and I was a tradesman, so we had a bit of a relationship there already. And so I think Rob's been with me for 7 years now, or 8 years now. So
wow, that's crazy.
Yeah,
it feels like yesterday.
It does. I know. So he's a real important part of my business. Has been for a long time now. He's a really good temperament, being an operations manager. Like, the guys can all relate to him. He knows when to be firm and when to be, give him a cuddle. So he's been really good for that role. So that was really good. Took that off me, and then it was probably about this time last year. I was sitting in here with Tony having a chat, and that's when Tony sort of opened my eyes up to the idea I needed an estimator, which hadn't really. I was struggling just to keep up with all my quoting and everything else I was doing, and I hadn't really seriously considered an estimator. I hadn't even thought about it, and then Tony pointed out to me, I think you need an estimator, and at the time it was like a light bulb just went off in my head. I was like, oh, of course I do. That's what I need. I need an estimator. So then, so then we employed our estimator in I think it was June or July last year. He came on board. So that was the next big step, and that just changed. It's changed everything the estimator has.
Yeah. So we should dig into that in a minute.
Yep.
There is a question here from Luke. So Luke just said, can you expand more on how purchasing your own building has paid off versus leasing?
Oh, capital gains. Like, the building's gone up. I think we bought it 5 years ago, and it's increased in value a lot over that time. And the building we bought next door, we just bought that on the back of the increase in capital gains on the building we already had. So our buildings are owned, me and Tori, my wife, we own those buildings, and our business leases them off us at a rate that's good for me and Tori. So so that's really the thing, is really paying off our own mortgage, which long term I think is the way to go.
Yeah. So you've got the business, which is an asset, leasing from yourself, which is also another asset, and the cap rates go down, the building value goes up.
Yeah, and that's the way we've been able to buy the second building. It was just for piggybacking on the first one. So
killer.
Yeah, not saying it's right for everyone. Like we don't need good road frontage or anything like that other businesses do, but for our business it was the right option, definitely. But if we at the time, if we couldn't afford to buy, I still would have leased just to get it out of the garage. So
yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think if you can't afford to buy and leasing is the option, you do it.
I think so.
Like we lease our premises. I'd love to buy it, but it just didn't work out with the time and stuff. But yeah, it's killer. So Michelle's got a good question as well. Brad, can you tell us exactly which roles you have in the office?
So we've got my estimator, does all the estimating and whatnot. We've got Kelly, who does marketing. She's just in for 10 hours a week. She does the marketing side of it. So, and I do a lot of the sales. So I do a lot of the customer face-to-face sales. I enjoy doing sales, and I'm good at it. So it's a bit of my genius there, that sort of side of it, the relations with customers. So I do that, and that's sort of our first lane, which is our sales and marketing. And then Rob does all the operations. So looks after all the staff, looks after everything to do with the staff, really, all the guys and gals. They're all his team, and so they communicate through him directly, and he sorts out all their issues and whatnot. And then we've had Wendy, who's been office manager. We've got a new office person coming in next month, so that role is actually getting split into two because she was tapped out, and she still wants to pull her hours back a bit, so we split her role into two now. So we've got office administrator role, and then we've got a receptionist / office administrator / PA role. So you've got two different roles there. Yep.
Yeah.
I hope that's sort of what you're after, Michelle.
Yeah, cool. And team, if you do have questions, whack them in the chat, because we'll get to them as we go through, and I might even unmute you guys next time. Maybe you can ask the questions through. We can do that, Nephi, no problem. That'd be awesome.
Anything in the studio.
Anything that we could land the space shuttle in here, mate. I tell you, it's all good. It's all good. Hey, something I'd like to dig into, mate. It's not quite in the questions we've got here, but I'm sure you'll be good with it. So I really respect the changes you've made, but I know from coaching you for a long time, actually making the decision to invest the money and do that sort of stuff hasn't been easy at times, has it? In terms of So what's the thinking? Because this is, I think, a challenge for all of us. We kind of know we need to do something, or maybe invest some time and money in team, or buildings or equipment or whatever it is. But that's quite a hard process, right? Can you tell us a little bit how you've found that and how you've maybe dealt with it? Because I think you're obviously more comfortable doing it now.
Yep. I mean, any step you take sort of is a big step, like through different scales of business and whatnot, and it can be hard to get your head around the idea that you need to make those changes. I suppose the more times you make those decisions, the more easier it gets. And so, like I say, back when I employed my first apprentice, that was a massive decision. And then as you do that, you're like, that was a great decision. That made it easier to employ a tradesman. And so I suppose the more times you made those decisions and see the positive results of those decisions, it makes it easier to do them. I'm definitely a lot better now at those decisions than what I was a while ago, Tony. And I think it's just seeing the results from making those decisions and doing the background, making sure that I'm comfortable with that decision before I make it, and then not rushing into the decision. And then seeing the results. Yeah,
I would say, and I mean this respectfully, as out of respect, is you're not like a massive risk taker. You're actually a relatively cautious person.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. I am. And I probably wasn't when I was younger, but then when I have a business and I started it up, then I feel like I've got something to lose. So I sort of have changed over the years, I think, and become lesser a risk taker than I was when I was younger.
Yeah. So for everyone listening, for all of us in business, what would be your, I guess, your advice or thinking process or discussion you'd have with someone who's like faced with the decision of, hey, I need to hire another tradesperson. I mean, obviously you've got to go and find them, and that's another whole thing which maybe we can jam on a little bit. Or I need to get an office person or an estimator, or I need to invest in some new equipment. What would you say to them when they're going through those mental bloody high jumps that you go through, that back and forward, should I not? What happens if I do? What happens if I don't? Type thing.
I suppose just think about all the things you're doing that you don't want to be doing, that someone else could be doing is a big thing, and taking them off your plate and thinking about how much more you could push to that person if you had their time available. I think, like, if I go back to when I employed the estimator, Tony sort of said to me, you may well be sabotaging your own sales at the moment because you're doing all the estimating yourself, because I didn't have time to do it all. And I think he was probably right, So once I started thinking about all the stuff I could throw out that estimator, it just made the decision a lot easier. And then I think there's people out there that can do some of the roles in my business better than I can. And so when I employ people like I was saying about Rob before, I think he's probably better as an operations manager than what I was. So when you see people doing it better than what you were, it gives you confidence to do it again and again. So going back to the question, I suppose you've sort of got to trust that you need the help and that you can offload a lot to that new person. And I suppose look at other people in the Profitable Tradie setup who have done it in the past. There's lots of success stories out there of businesses that have grown, and you look at what they've done, and that should give you people confidence as well to make those decisions.
Yeah, actually, I think you've touched on something there that's huge. Often we ask the question, what's it going to cost me? What's the risk? But we never ask the question, what's it costing me not to? Which is actually the question.
Indeed.
Because I think you often throttle your growth. And if you're looking at your long-term vision, which is like, hey, I want to be here, then you kind of have no choice but to actually action those things.
If you build that, they put business plan in there and then fill all the spots out, and then you know where to go from there, I suppose.
100%.
Try to get your own name off a few of those slots.
Yeah. Team, I'd love to just pause for a couple of, maybe 60, 90 seconds. I'd love you just to drop into the chat. What have you found most helpful or most interesting, or any little aha moments from what Brad and I have talked through so far? Just drop it in the chat. That'd be awesome. If you could just pop in there. What have you found most helpful, most interesting? Maybe a little nugget that you've got as well. That'd be cool to get some feedback from you. While they're doing that, there's a question here from Cody about B2B relationships, builders and such. And he said here, do you send out a birthday gift like PT does? What program do you use to track it? Maybe once we've got some, just drop it in the chat, guys. I'd love to hear. Maybe we could touch on that a little bit, because you do a lot of work with that sort of stuff. Would that be okay? Just to dig into a little bit of what you do there?
Yep.
Because I think that might be super helpful. So Luke says, buying your property and leasing it back. Lisa, keep the end goal when owning. Oh, this is going so fast, Nephi. I'm struggling, mate. What? And this is a Mac. This is tough, man, I tell you. Okay, Lisa says, keep the end goal of owning your own depots in mind. Jenny, great to see increase in capital gains for the building. Yeah, interesting to hear the office set up and the ratio of techs. Dan, giving up control. Yeah, I think that's a big one. Like, if you want to grow and control everything, it's not possible.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say you're giving up control, but you're delegating some control. You've got the ultimate control still.
100%. I mean, you got to have systems and stuff, but you can't be across every detail.
You can't, and that's something probably I have struggled with over the years. Tony, we go back to talking about before, is letting go of control of different parts of the business.
Yeah, 100%. Glenn says the more hard decisions you make, the easier they get. Yeah. Murray, it's not what it will cost you to do it, it's what it's going to cost you not to is huge. Dean, hey Dean, how you doing, man? And I'm not sure if Anna's there as well. Delegating, getting more workers. Mitchell, growing from a tradesman to a business owner. Yeah, good stuff. Alex, Luca, overcoming the risk reward of investing time for new positions, etc. Yeah, huge. Hayden, Uncle Hayden, who's an awesome dude as well. Sometimes an employee can fill a role better than the business owner can. That's absolute gold. It's so true.
So true.
So true. Chris, hiring overhead roles, operations, and estimated to free up time. That can do the job better than you. Someone needs to buy a Mac as well. Yeah, good stuff. Good luck with that. It's apparently better. Anyway, all good. There we go. So, Lee, actually, I'll just grab what Lee's got here too. Understanding that I can't do everything, it's all right to let go of tasks to more qualified people here. Huge. If you want to grow, you want time, money, and freedom, it's hard to do it all on your own. Because when you're not there, business ain't working.
Exactly.
How cool now? So you can go away and sales are happening.
Yeah. Yep.
That's the definition of a business right there.
Yep. That's pretty cool.
So good. Okay. Let's carry on. Maybe I might just jump in here and talk about the builders.
Okay.
Is that all right?
Sure.
Yep. So you work predominantly with housing companies?
Yeah, housing companies and builders. Yep.
Okay, so there's probably a couple of things. Number one is sort of broad brush. How do you go about getting them?
Yeah, like we target them directly with lumpy mail, phone calls, me dropping in off the cuff to see them. That's how we target most of them, and then just have a good backup. So once we do get a little bit of in there, we've got all the goods to make it happen. I nutted down on my genius last year. One of my geniuses is to go and see potential customers. So I spend a lot of time dropping in to see customers now. So direct marketing is a big part of it.
Yeah. So the cool thing about B2B is you know who they are, so we can target them directly, which I think is killer. So the next thing is, I reckon you're pretty good at sales. So how do you get the builders over the line to actually start using you? Because I think you do some pretty cool stuff that you don't just go and like, hey, please, sir, can I have a plan to price? It's a little bit smarter than that.
So if I give an example of a customer, I won't name the customer, but a customer we just sort of about to pick up now, is they'd had some direct marketing sent to them a while ago, last year sometime. We'd done follow up for them. They were in our system getting newsletters and that, and I decided it was time to drop in and see them. So I just dropped in, had a chat to them, and then explained to them how we do a few things on site. We are a bit unique with how we do our sales on site and try and take the pressure off them with variations. I don't know if we've got time to go into that right now,
Well,
Tony.
we can touch on it for a couple of minutes here.
Yeah, so I sort of do most of the sales on site when we have walkthrough with the customers. I sort of have worked out with the client beforehand what their price is going to be, and I do all the sales and then just tell the builder how much to charge the customer from me doing the sales. It cuts them out of doing the sales totally, which makes their job a lot easier. So I sort of talk to them about that a bit and show them how I sort of do it, and most of them are sort of taken back by that straight away. That's a hurt point for them, is sorting out all those variations. So that sort of takes that away straight away. And then on the back of it, just try to get them to send some plans through. When they send plans through, Simon, my estimator's onto it. When we get a new customer send plans through, it goes to the top of his list of priorities to get that plan drawn up and back to them as quick as he can. So he draws the plans up, back to them as quick as he can, without a quote, and then he calls them and see what they think about the plan, makes any changes, and then backs up with a quote, follows up again. While he's doing that, I'm chatting to, like, we operate with a rewards program. So in the background, I'm chatting to the rewards program, giving them all their details. The guy there, Quinton, who runs the show there, he's ringing them up to say, hey, Leading Edge Electrical said they might be working with you. They've got a reward system going. We want to get you in our reward system so you can get rewards from Leading Edge Electrical. So they're getting hit with good plans, prompt. Then they're getting hit with, like, you can get rewards points as well. So we sort of just try to hit them on all the good stuff we've got at once, really, and just overwhelm them with goodness.
Yeah, talk them through the systems and stuff.
Talk them through all the systems, talk them through our checklists we do on site, talk through our staff, explain to them, about our staff ratio and whatnot, and talk to them about operations manager, estimate, all that sort of thing. So a lot of it's direct marketing like that, and then getting in there and seeing them. Yep.
Killer. Full court pressure. Love it.
Full court pressure.
So it's not just about doing a price and sending it off and hoping for the best.
No, definitely not. No. Like I sort of, once that plan gets sent through and the quote goes through, Simon sort of follows those up because he's the one who's been doing the plans and the pricing. And I'm sort of like that customer, for example, I'm dropping there later on this week. I'm planning just dropping there randomly just to take a coffee in there and see how they're going, just to keep it sort of rolling while we're hot with them,
Yeah.
So yeah.
Killer. Good stuff. Okay. So you've made some pretty impressive gains in the last 6 to 8 months as well. Mm. So probably a little bit of a flat period of revenue for a while, and it sort of jumped up again as well. So can you talk about the results, sort of maybe where you've been, where you've gone to, and what do you think has allowed you to bust that open?
Yeah, so like our results are going, like we were constantly around that low hundreds a month, and sort of late last year we started hitting the 300 pluses. So it sort of has happened pretty quick. We have had a lot of growth with our numbers, and a big part of that's like estimator coming on board. That's definitely helped with that. Me, like now, like I say before, it's like finding new leads for him and then just shoving them to him to do the pricing, whereas I'm not doing it myself. So it's a lot easier. So having him on board, and like I was saying before, he's better at that job than I am. He's way more detailed. He loves computers, which is not my forte. So he's right into all that sort of stuff and techno stuff. So having him on board has really helped with that growth. And then having him with my operations manager, my estimators, relationship is so good that they bounce off each other and help each other out, and that's really helped as well. We've grown our team. It's pretty hard to get tradesmen supposedly hard to get tradesmen and apprentices at the moment. We sort of don't have too much of a problem. We don't have we do have high staff retention. We haven't really had I think we've had one tradesman leave in 13 years, so we haven't had many staff leave. We operate a 4-day week over summer, so that's our big catch thing to get tradesmen in, is we have a 4-day week over summer. So that's helped with growth as well. We brought on 3 tradesmen last year, and so 3 top quality tradesmen last year, and that 4-day week definitely helped getting some of them in. So we've had a lot of growth.
Yeah, that's so from what I can see, it's the fact that you've opened up the capacity by having the estimator, so that then you could actually follow up the marketing with some sales activity.
Correct.
So that's made a huge impact, and obviously growing the team as well, because you've got to scale the team to do the work.
Good stuff to do.
So you've mentioned the 4-day work week. What else do you think you've done on the hiring side? Because that's a big frustration for you. Like, just give me a hands up if that's a frustration. If you're like, hey, how do I hire decent people? So a few hands up. Yep. Okay. So what do you think? What are some points of distinction or little gold nuggets you think that you guys do well that's allowed you to actually succeed there?
Obviously, the 4-day week helps. On other things, is like it's amazing how many potential tradesmen come and send their CVs through, and then we have a chat to them who don't use a job management program where they're currently working. It's amazing. And so once they see that, and then you start showing them our systems, we've got a good social club going on as well. That sort of, the whole culture thing sort of ties in there, and then they got the 4-day work week as well, so they're thinking about how good that is as well. So you sort of tie them in on all fronts and pay good money, but I mean it's not all about the money. So those are real good things, is getting them in there and showing them all the systems we've got and the procedures we've got and what we've got going on. I'm sure they go on our Facebook page and check us out and see a pretty good Facebook and Instagram pages going on. So that all sort of helps the whole thing, really, Tony, the culture and just the make them think about how enjoyable it's going to work for us and how easy it's going to be for them with top quality systems.
What do you think you do well on the culture front?
On the culture front, I think a lot of that's driven by my operations manager now, more so than me. But it was originally driven by me when I was seeing the guys a lot of the time. But he sort of just has a good temperament. Doesn't lose his cool with the guys. Everyone sort of is comfortable to talk about things, or they don't ever feel pressured or anything. So I think that's a big side of it. The guys like socialising outside of work. A lot of them are really good mates, and they socialise outside of work. They went to rugby in the weekend without me or the operations manager, so they all did their social club thing in the weekend. So I suppose that sort of drives the culture, and just having regular meetings with Rob. They have their regular meetings and that, so that sort of helps them all to be understood and known. And we have a barbecue every second Friday. That sort of helps as well, and it all sort of ties in there, I suppose. I don't think it's really. I don't think there's really ever one thing that really is your culture. It's just a whole lot of little things that just add up to a big thing.
I think that's massive. And culture eats strategy for breakfast. Like culture is, and we've talked about this a lot. Culture is everything when you're hiring, because that's like your unique hiring proposition, if you like, your unique thing when hiring. And word does get around.
Yeah. And
they will check you out online, but if they have people working, mates maybe working there, or some contact, then that's huge as well, because they'll actually it's like a reference.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yep.
One thing I would like to ask you about with the team is, I know you did a survey thing recently. So maybe just let's talk about that a bit, because I think that's not designing the culture, but it shows you that it's really important.
Yep. So it was review time, March or late February. We started our reviews and staff reviews. So with the staff reviews beforehand, a week prior, we gave them all a questionnaire to answer a few questions there. Wanted to get a bit of a grasp on where they're all at and where we're at, what we're doing right and wrong, and sort of see how that sort of comes back. So did a questionnaire and got some amazing information back from that. I employed those 3 tradesmen last year I was chatting about before. One of the questions on there for all the staff was what's your enjoyment levels out of 10, and 2 of those tradesmen from last year both put 10 out of 10. So I was just like, yeah, that's so good. We had a couple that were a bit low as well, the other members, so the good thing about having the questionnaire is we could address that, and on the back of that we sort of put things in place to improve them, and we want to, next review we want to get up like a couple of points. So it was good to know that feedback, good and not good on that side of it. Other thing is, we start from that is one of my tradesmen, he wants to in the future be an estimator, and so that was really good information to have back, because we didn't know that. And so now we've put in place now that he's going to spend some time with the estimator. So we're going to build a bit of bench strength there and have it so that he can sort of maybe start to slot in there if our estimator's away on annual leave or whatever, away for a few days here and there. And with the potential that if our estimator was to one day push on, would have someone there sort of maybe, almost ready to take the role on. So that was really good. I had no idea he was interested in that, so that was really good. A couple other guys want to be electrical inspectors, so we're getting them into electrical inspectors courses. So we just learnt some really good information on the back of that. And we changed how we ran our teams a bit from what
that's
feedback
interesting.
we had.
I'd like to hear about that.
Yeah, so we had feedback from one of our tradesmen that we've got 9 vans on the road, and it was probably getting a little bit sloppy where we had different tradesmen going to finish off jobs, other tradesmen have started, and it's unavoidable a lot of the time. But one of our tradesmen had the idea that we operated our team in 3 teams, and so we had three vans in a team, and that those 3, each team A, B, and C, the A guys only work on the A guys' jobs, the B's on the B's, and the C's on the C's. So if a tradesman can't make it to one of his jobs because he's on another job, only someone in his team goes back there. And then, and we thought that was a great idea, and we thought my operations manager sort of get into the capacity of how many guys you can manage as well. So we sort of thought we set up 3 little teams like that, and they sort of work inside their teams, and they talk to Rob about what's going on. It takes a lot off Rob's plate as well.
That's killer.
And in each one of those teams, in 2 of those teams, we've got there's a sort of a de facto leader in 2 of the teams, and one of the teams is not, because both the guys are a similar sort of level. So in those teams with the leaders, that other guys sort of lean on those guys a lot more than Rob now. So it sort of has been a good little change for us, really. Something I would never have thought of, but from just asking for any feedback how we could do things better. That was one of the things that came up, and the guy who brought that up was one of the guys who had one of the lowest sort of scores, and talking to him about it already now. We've been running it for a month or so now. We've approached it straight away, and he's like, "Oh, no, this is way better already." So we're trying to get him up to a 10.
I think that's massive, and I don't know who said it. I read it recently that The Great Game of Business. It was a good book. Jack Stack, I think. If you ever want to read a good book, it's a good one. And he was basically saying, "Hey, I'd hate to have someone in my team who's worked hard out for years and years and years." Actually, it came about because he had a guy who was operating a drill press, and he found out this guy had a multi-million-dollar property portfolio, and he's like, "Holy heck, I never knew that." Like, the worst thing for me as an employer is that I have someone in my business who I never used all their ideas and their ability. How rubbish is that? So that's what you've done there is amazing. I think that's something we should all definitely do. So good stuff. It
was a pretty simple questionnaire. Didn't try to make it too complicated or too hard. Just made it real simple to answer. Asking them what their 1, 3, and 5 year goals are in life as well. That was interesting.
Yep.
So some of them had no idea, but they said it's great to actually think about it. So I said, next time we do reviews, you've got to put something in those lines next time.
So I think we shared that in the boardroom, didn't we?
The questionnaire, I think I did.
Yeah. Okay. Would you mind if we shared it in the other group?
It's totally fine.
Yeah, I think we'll be able to do that, Lisa. No problem. We'll figure that out for you. It's pretty simple questions, which is awesome. It just opens up the communication.
It's nothing special. It's just a easy, simple questionnaire.
Yep. Okay. We had a few questions here, Brad, about the 4-day work week. So let's maybe just spend a couple of minutes on that. So can you tell us how it works, how you track it? Because everyone's like, "Oh, how's that going to work?"
Yep, so we just run a 4-day work week. We run it over the New Zealand Daylight Savings Hours. So that's from the end of September, and this is the last week. So we only run it through the 6 months of summer. And the reason we run over the 6 months of summer is because the guys still do just as many hours. They still do them in 4 days instead of 5. So the guys, and they can do that through summer. We've got more daylight hours. They can't do it in winter time. And so basically what we do is we split the team in half, and half have Mondays off and half have Fridays off. And that's pretty much how we run it. They start an hour early, finish an hour later than normal. So through winter they do 7:30 to 5. In summer they do 6:30 till 6 or 7 till 6:30, depending on what work they're sort of on. And they get the 5th day off. So we're getting as much productivity out of them. Because the vans are only operating 4 days a week instead of 5, we're cutting down our running costs on the vehicles by 20%. Staff's
killer.
Yeah, it's killer. Yeah, 20%, especially at the moment. The staff are doing the same amount of hours, but they feel like they're having a break every week. 3-day weekend every week. So we've run that now for I think 3 or 4 years.
Yep.
So yeah, and we wouldn't go back. We wouldn't go back. My estimator, he doesn't want to work a 4-day week, so he works 5 days a week because he loves coming to work. So he does 5 days. This year's the first year we've done it where we split up our office staff as well, and they've been doing 4-day weeks as well. So everyone loves it. So yeah, I think it's a good concept, and I think it's probably getting more popular now, the old 4-day weeks. So
And you use that when you're marketing for jobs, don't you?
that's our headliner in our ads is work 4 days, get paid 5 through summer. That's pretty much what we advertise, and that's a big attention grabber. Last tradesman we employed, he had a few different job offers in Hamilton. He's relocating from another city, and he came on board with us, and we weren't paying the most. He wanted the 4-day week, wanted to go surfing and Raglan.
Killer.
So it worked out well.
So how does it work in the office? Are they 5? Obviously, estimated 5 days. Is everyone else in the office 5 days?
One of the things we got out of happened earlier is Wendy wanted to pull back to a 4-day week permanently. Right. She's getting to a point where she sort of wants to spend some her weekends doing a bit more stuff. So she does 4 days a week all the time now, and our operations manager, he does 4 days a week through summer. But on the days that he's off, he's actually sort of just working from home really, because he realises it's pretty hard to have your ops manager off, doing a 4-day week. But he likes to work from home, and that day he sort of does a few less hours, but he's still available when needed.
Yep.
Yeah,
okay,
more relaxed.
And how do you find? So Trevor's just good question, Trevor. How do the staff find going back to the 5 days after summer?
So sort of the last couple of weeks, really, the darkness has become our enemy. So it gets a bit tough now for them to, it's dark until 7 in the morning. It gets a bit tough for them now. So the last few weeks is a bit of a hard slog. So they're ready to go back to 5 days a week now because they're ready for it really. So it's pretty easy to change back for them really. And winters, for me personally, I'd rather have a 3-day weekend through summer than winter. Winter's not so crucial. So yeah. And I mean, probably for us, luckily, is my staff is like quite young, so there's not so many families there. So the younger guys they just love it because it makes no difference to them whether they're home at 5 or 6. So we have had some of our tradesmen who've got families don't do a 4-day week; they prefer to do a 5-day week. We've got an apprentice at the moment who plays quite a high level of rugby, and he's got to train every morning, every night for the Chiefs wider squad. So he can't do a 4-day week either. So it's not for everyone, but it is for a lot. Most of them enjoy it. Yeah.
And so you just work that around with the scheduling and
Yep. So we work around. So we have it. So that how we have run it. That will change a bit now because these teams going on. But we have had it. The tradesmen and apprentice that work together, they don't have the same day off in the same week. Yep. So that if they're on a job the whole week, there's a bit of consistency there. Yep. And so that's how we sort of have ran it, and it will change a bit now with these teams. We're going to be a bit different again next year.
Yeah, cool. So great questions, team. If you do have any other questions, keep dropping them in the chat because this is cool. We'll get what we need that way. So we've talked about the team, which is cool, and we've talked about the contractors as well. I'd love to talk about. There's a question about job management software. What job management software do you use? This is getting into a flipping rabbit hole.
And so,
should we just not go there? I don't know. Maybe we will.
Yeah, we've been using Fergus since 2015. And we are currently looking at other options just to see what else is out. Well, we know what else is out there, and you're looking at other options at the moment. It's been good for us, but just looking at other options at the moment. So yeah.
Okay. Should we leave it there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
The thought of changing is probably a bit frightening as well. So
it is indeed.
Yep.
It is indeed.
Yep.
It's one of those big decisions.
It is a big decision. Yeah. So hey, Brad, how you doing, man? This is another Brad.
Right.
Asking Brad, do you guys all take the vans home?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool. We'll move on.
Yeah, it's an easy one.
Let's do that. I'd love to talk about mindset.
Okay.
So what are the mindset changes that you've had to go through to make your business more successful?
The mindset changes I've had to go through really is, spending time educating myself. Yeah, spending time educating myself is a big thing. Educate myself on business and management, I suppose, people management and whatnot. And I've listened to a lot of podcasts, a lot of podcasts, but a lot of audio books as well. Phil's put me onto quite a few crackers, and some of those have been life changing. So I suppose educating myself and spending more time. Yeah, the mindset of spending more time on myself to change my mindset grow the business, I suppose. Yeah, and not just the business, like your life in general, the mindset change in life.
Yeah, this probably wasn't in the questions we said we'd talk about, but this is actually super important. So you're not actually you have not just made a bunch of changes in your business life, but you've done a lot of stuff personally to increase your health, your well-being, your kind of enjoyment, that sort of thing. So maybe could we talk about that a little bit? Like what have you done? What have you found that's helped? Because it's kind of all the same package, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah. I suppose, like educating myself on better ways of doing life. There's a lot of good books out there. A lot of good books out there you can listen to or read that sort of help you move the mind forward in the way you think about life and how you appreciate your life and how you appreciate the ones in your life. There's a lot of good books on that sort of side of it, and then taking time to appreciate yourself and what in your life and what you want to do. And for me personally, it's taking time out to go. Mountain biking is a pretty important thing for me. Everyone knows Kerry. Kerry got me into mountain biking, and we spent a fair bit of time together. And so that's just great. Like doing that on a Wednesday afternoon, knocking off at 2:30, 3 o'clock, and meeting up at the mountain, and then going for a ride. Spend some time for me. That's really good stuff. So I suppose the mindset's probably changed. From educating myself more, and as the family grows up, you sort of want to spend more time making sure you're not missing out on that whole family thing. Like my oldest kids are 13 years old now, so they're sort of being with us for 13 years at home, and they won't be at home for another 13 years. So time flies by, and it's something you can't get back. So you want to make sure you enjoy it as much as you can and spend time with your kids. Phil gave me some. I'll go back to Phil again. He's got some good knowledge. That guy gave me some really good information. Sort of late last year about how I was going to spend my holidays with my kids, and it was really important. It made my holiday, have my kids over the summertime, sort of next level to what it sort of usually is. Just, I suppose treating it like I treat some stuff at work about how I actually plan about how I'm going to spend my time with them, and that was really important. So, yeah.
Yep, and you've been off the caffeine and a whole bunch. So you've made other changes to try and get the stress levels down, get the energy up and the focus up as well.
Yep. So you gave caffeine away. I was saying today about 2 years ago now. So it will improve my sleep patterns. Improved a lot when I gave it caffeine. I do like coffee, but I didn't like the effects I was having, so gave that up. And exercise a lot more regularly than I used to. You sort of when you go off the tools and you sit in the office all day, you sort of have to start doing those sort of things. Bit of a change there, and then spending time with my wife Tori. Regularly spend a lot more time with Tori now, and
so you have stuff sort of blocked in, don't you?
We sort of have, Tony. Tori's studying full time now, so we used to have until she started studying full time last year. Before that, we had I think it was every Wednesday morning. I'll go to work at first thing in the morning, come back home by sort of 8:30, and then we'd hang out till about 1, and we'd either go for a walk or we'll go on mountain bikes or whatever, then go out for lunch, and so do that once a week. But now she's studying full time, so I'm sort of missing out on that now.
Yeah. What about me?
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay. So, team, if you have other questions, please pop them in the chat. There is let me just go up here. Graydon's got a question. How you going, Graydon? Hope you're good, man. When you started the 4-day work week, this seems to be a positive theme today. Did you have certain roles that you couldn't offer 4 days to, or did you train up a second on every task first? We've sort of answered that, have we? Or maybe just...
I can touch on a bit more. So the 4-day week, we didn't... That was something we didn't plan. We sort of stumbled across it a bit because we just sort of tended to have quiet Januaries and Februaries. So I said to the guys, hey, look, if we get dropping down to 35, 36 hours, maybe we should just do them over 4 days instead of 5. So we dropped them down without increasing their daily hours. But then the first year we did it, we had heaps of work on, so they ended up doing the same amount of hours. And so we only did it for a couple of months, then we sort of expanded it out. So we didn't really plan too much around at the start until the second year, really. But our guys, like we do a lot of housing, renos and that sort of thing, but we try to make it so the guys can slot in and slot out. So some of the guys obviously do have a bit different skill sets, but we have never had an issue really when we don't have someone on there. So we sort of rank our tradesmen, from most experienced down, and we make sure that 1 and 2 aren't off on the same day. So we do sort of split it up to suit really. Yeah. So we try to get the same knowledge base there every Monday and Friday, and we tend to find Fridays, not much happens on Friday after sort of 2 o'clock anyway, and then Mondays it's all prepped up and you're into it. So I think it seems to work pretty well. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So Logan has got a good question, and this might be interesting to a bunch of you who are thinking about estimators and stuff. So Logan's question is, on the estimator, what was his background? Like, was he a Sparky, or was he not? So what was his background? Yeah,
so he's a Sparky by trade. He's an electrical inspector as well. He's in his early 30s. He also has some experience being operations manager for a building maintenance company. He ran a team of like 17 guys. He was working. Was working as a Sparky at the time. I was targeting an electrician that wants to get off the tools really, and that's sort of what he was. And his personality, he sort of just pestered me until I realised he was the right guy for the job. So so his background is electrical. It's handy having him on board. As a Sparky, I don't know. I think you sort of probably have to be a Sparky to do his role, because a lot of it's like going and quoting small jobs. You might go to someone's house to add some PowerPoints in Tony's house or whatever, and you got to have the knowledge of how
data cables out here.
Data cables out here, yeah, exactly, yeah. And you got to have the knowledge of how that's going to actually work, I suppose. So it's pretty important for me that he was a Sparky. Yeah, for the sort of work we do.
Okay. Has the team number increased since he came on board?
Yes, yep. No, it's increased. What's the numbers? I don't know what the numbers are. Maybe we've gone from 7 vans to maybe gone from 6 vans to 8, and we've got another one coming. So yeah, has increased. We've taken on since he started in July, we took on an apprentice in August. We took on another tradesman in August. We took on another 3 apprentices since then, and we've had 1 apprentice leave. So yeah, we have grown. Yeah, we have grown. Yep. Oh, we had another apprentice come on as well. So you're definitely grown since he came on. Yep.
100%. Okay. So there's a couple of questions here. I've got maybe 1 or 2 questions left. So if you do have some more questions, team, just whack them in the chat and we'll get through them. 100%. So I have a question. So I know for a lot of people, working through a coaching program like this, finding the time, or not finding the time, you don't find time. There's no more time to be found. You have to make the time or prioritise the time. So what do you think you've done that's allowed you to prioritise your, working on the business time, your education time? How have you managed to do that? Because right from the early days, it wasn't easy because there was only you and Jesse. So how have you managed to do that on an ongoing basis to keep getting results? What's the secret sauce there?
I suppose you just got to blank time out and do it. You got to spend time doing it. Like, you got all these resources to use. You've got to actually spend some time doing it and blank some time out where you don't have this thing here ring in your ear. You sort of turn this off and go to a space where you're not going to get annoyed and by anyone, and sort of spend some time doing it. And then I suppose that's the big thing, is just spend some time and use the information you've got.
So and 100%. And some people are better able to do that than others, and maybe other people feel like they haven't got a choice because they've got clients ringing them and fires everywhere and things going to hell in a handbasket. So how did you deal with that? Because you were no different to anyone else.
It was hard.
Of course it's hard. Nothing is easy that's worthwhile, right?
It was hard, and for a time there, probably didn't make as much progress as I could have because I didn't spend enough time on it. I suppose just keep chipping away at it and being accountable. I suppose early on it was Tony, having been accountable to Tony, and you don't get results done. You come and sit with Tony, and he's asks you why you haven't got it done, sort of thing. So being accountable, probably as a business owner and a sole business owner, no business partner, besides my wife who's in the industry with me, to be accountable to. So I suppose having someone accountable, and now we've got a boardroom to be accountable and whatnot to be accountable to now. So being accountable is a big thing, I suppose.
Okay, cool.
If you're accountable and someone's asking you questions, well, then you're more inclined to prioritise your time to do that rather than make excuse not to.
But it's also, I think, in the moment of when you have those urgent things pop up, there's a decision to make, isn't there? There's most of us, I think, feel like we have no choice. We have to go deal with it. But actually, there is a choice, and sometimes you have to say not now to putting the fire out so you can actually do the thing that's actually going to improve the whole thing in the long term.
Yep. Agree. I totally agree. And don't let other people's disorganisation become your disorganisation.
Where's the mic? Drop that mic. Was that don't let other people's disorganisation become your disorganisation? Yep. That's killer.
It's a big motto of mine.
We let other people's shit just come in right on us. Yeah, killer. Love that, man. Okay. So Reese has got a great question here. This is probably every person's question. As you were growing, did you have the work before you employed, or did you employ knowing that you wanted to grow and then chase the work?
Employed, we definitely didn't. We created the vacuum, so we employed people, and then the work, turned up.
Yep.
The work came after. We were obviously pretty busy a lot of the time, but especially early on, you employ someone, you're like, where are we going to find that work from? Then they come on board, then 2 weeks later, you're like, man, I need another person. So, definitely we created the vacuum, and then the work came. So, employed first.
I think that's killer because, I've seen it hundreds, thousands of times, and a lot of you will know this, is someone new comes into the business and all of a sudden they're full. The reason you couldn't see that before is because you're just turning away opportunities all over the show. Or you weren't doing quotes or estimates, you weren't chasing up work, you were letting clients down, you were taking 3 weeks to get something done, which if you did it in a week would be better. So there's already 3/4 of a job there when you hire.
When my estimator Simon started, we got in there and he was really quick to train, he was really into it, and 3 weeks in, a month in, he was like chewing through all the quotes, and he sort of said to me, not many quotes to do in front of me, and then I was like, we'll change that then, and now he's just like, he's deep now. He's always he's deep now all the time. So,
and you're creating the bench strength with the next guy, which is killer.
Yep.
Okay, so we've got maybe 5 or so minutes left. So I want to make sure we get the most juice out of this. And there is a question here, which I think again is probably really helpful. And Logan, all the good questions, Logan. Nice work. Are you able to expand on the pricing you do for your group builders? So maybe just touch on that a little bit, because I think that's good.
Yep. So what I sort of do is I chat to my customers beforehand, and I work out with them, decide with them like what sort of margin they want to put on my costs. So they all put a margin on, so you work out whether it's usually that sort of 15, 20%, 15, 10, 20%. And so work out what that is, and then I do a price list up of all the items I think they might want in those in the house, any extras, power points, light switches, lights, smart vents, everything else. I work out a price list for all that. I include the builder's margin, and I also include GST on there, and I round it up to the nearest $50 or $20 or whatever,
$100.
And put a bit more on there. And then some stuff you look at and you're like, that looks a bit cheap. I add some more on that one, because the customer doesn't know what stuff is generally worth. And with that list, I go to do the walkthroughs of Sparky. So we do a walkthrough at just for pre-wire, rock around at walkthrough with our paint. And I like doing this. My estimator does a lot of this now as well, but I like the sort of sales part of it, so I still do a lot of this for him, with him. And you go around and you spray where your PowerPoints that are going with the plan, and you walk around with the customer, and you explain to them you got the prices the builder's going to charge them for extras, and so they walk around, they're like, I wouldn't want a PowerPoint here, and you're like, that's this much, light over here is this much, USB PowerPoint upgrade. You do all these extras, and as we're doing it, I'm sort of writing it down, and at the end we've got I've got a carbon copy book. I add up all the costs, get them to sign off on all the extras, and then on the back of that, it goes back to my estimator. He turns that into a quote. He tells the builder how much to charge the customer, makes it easy for them, makes it nice and easy for them. Sends them a copy of the signed carbon copy sheet, and then it's already all approved before the builder even sees it. So he's just saying, I'm making 20% off this $5,000 extras, and I haven't had to do anything about it. Nothing. Just gets the money.
So that's killer. You should do that. Yeah, he's done it on me, by the way.
Yeah. So that works really well, and it's really it's a good, like I say, a good selling point when you try and get those new customers on board as well, and it makes our life easier because we're not going backwards and forwards.
And it makes the builder's life easy, which is a great sales point too. So yeah, great stuff. Okay, Doug. G'day, Doug. How you going, mate? When the estimator runs short of jobs, what do you do? Has this ever happened?
A few weeks in, he started getting a bit short on jobs, and then so I just sort of went and rented a few cages and got him busy again, and and on the back of that now, we've got a whole lot of jobs that are not really our target jobs. Like every time the guys go to our house to do some work, they take a picture of the switchboard, throw it into our Trello. Here's a list of all these customers' names with switchboards that are all need to be done at some stage, and whenever he runs anything else over there, or if he has a bit of time, he's got like half an hour at the end of the day, there's no point starting another big job. He'll just go and quick work out our switchboard. So the guys take photos of every job, the switchboard, and anything else they think. He also we've got this list of all the builders we've targeted from our targeted marketing over the years, and they're constantly in our system getting checked out. He's got a list from that list there that he's talked to, that he just keeps in touch with as well, so he's constantly keeping in touch with them. He's got his own credit card. He's a real extrovert, so he really enjoys dropping in and seeing customers, potential customers as well. So he drops them with, he always takes some donuts. I always take coffees, he always takes donuts. I get coffees and hot chocolates, he takes donuts. So he always drops in with donuts and just touching base with them as well. But he hasn't really had any time when had nothing on though since he started really.
Well, this is actually the key learning. And you mentioned before creating the vacuum. And so this is what creating the vacuum is. If you've got an estimator and he's a bit quiet, what does it force you to do?
Yeah.
Marketing,
yeah.
And so you make it work. You go and find the work. If you didn't have the estimator, you'd never do the marketing.
Yep, exactly, yeah.
You'd never see the need for it. So that's really creating the vacuum. You create a situation where you have to go and make some stuff work. And that's the way to grow. Nice job.
Indeed.
Okay. Close the gap, Trevor. That's right. Okay. So we've got a couple more questions here. Let's just go through those. Dan just like to know, do you have a tool allowance?
No, we don't have a tool allowance. So I just pay it in their wages. Cool. Yeah, I think if you're paying, if it's a wage, if they get a tool allowance, I think they sort of see the wage. Say they're getting $33 an hour. If they see $33 plus a tool allowance, they just don't see it. So I think you'd better off incorporating into the hourly rate myself.
Okay, Oliver, good question. Good to have you here, buddy. For new job roles you've created, did you hire them? Work out the role, or did you build out the role after the hire? So did you work out the role beforehand with KPIs and all that sort of stuff, or did you build that after you'd hired them?
Worked out the role first. Yeah, so worked out the role with we've got a new office admin starting next month. So I got my current office admin. Her job was getting split in half. So we sat down and spent a bit of time figuring out what her genius was, and we're going, well, that's what she likes doing. So we'll create a role for what she doesn't like doing. And so that's what we pretty much did. And it's not, something had to go the other way, but split it late. So we created the role and then advertised for the role. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. And Shane's got a good question as well. So growing, when you're managing a growing team and keeping everyone productive, what would be your advice on how to do that? That's another 3 webinars.
Yeah, keeping everyone productive. So like what we tend to do as we're growing, like when we have a tradesman come on board, they go through an induction. And Rob does Wendy gives them a bit of induction first, and then Rob gives them the full induction, which takes a good chunk of time, running through how we operate our job management program and other things throughout the business. Before they even start, Wendy sent them out a pack with all the information they've got to fill out. We've created their stuff in Teams and in Trello and everything else, so they're ready to roll on the day. And then when a tradesman starts, we put our senior apprentice with the tradesman for the first 6 weeks, so that the tradesman's learning from our senior apprentice who can pretty much do it all himself anyway. So we don't go and throw them with like a newbie apprentice. We put them with someone senior, and then just giving them the systems, I suppose, and running through the systems. And we have guys like we've had good electricians last year start with us who took a little while to catch up with the system because they're not used to having any systems. So it take them a little while, and so Rob just sort of leans on them for a while just to keep them at it.
Sometimes they just try and do it the old way, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Yeah. And it's not usually it's not their fault. It's just they've never had the systems before, and so I suppose that's some of the things we do. But like you say, you can talk a lot on that sort of subject, Tony. On how to get that
it's a culture question as well. So I think you've got to induct them well. Actually, people forget how important induction is because the first couple of even before they've joined, you've sent them a nice gift basket or something to celebrate them joining. And then have it really organised right from the get-go is massive because the way they start is the way they carry on.
Yep.
And it's the biggest thing you can do for building your culture is to make it great in the first thing.
You want them to come on board and see your systems and everything up here so they know they're going this way. You don't want them coming in here going, oh.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you get one chance for that good first impression. It's massive. Okay. So Reese has another question, just sort of a logistical one. The question, are the photos that the boys take on each job, what system do you use for inputting them into each job?
So we have a checklist. So on the checklist on Fergus, we have a Fergus checklist. They'll do a checklist for every job. We've got multiple different checklists, but they choose a checklist they've got to do depending on what the job is. One of those is on there, you got to take photos. Ask them what photos you got to take. And it goes onto the job there. And then they actually just go into Trello and they go into task. They've gone to task and they're on tasks on Fergus and they put the job number and they say switchboard upgrade. And then Simon will go in there and he'll see it and he just puts a photo onto Trello. So he's got a list on Trello ready to go. So we use Trello quite heavily.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a good tool, Trello.
Killer. Okay. So maybe a couple more questions before we maybe land this plane. Luke has got a really good question. So if you could go back in time and give a piece of advice to yourself before starting Profitable Tradie, what would what would you say? What would that advice be?
Probably goes back to growth, decision making, and probably pull the trigger on a few big decisions earlier, and less procrastination, I suppose. Yeah, that'll be it. Procrastinate less.
Love that. That's a great piece of advice. It was a good question, Lisa, 100%. So, team, let me just check if there's any other questions in here that I've missed. I think I'm pretty good. Dan, we've got that one. Oliver, yep. Doug, Logan. Yep, I think we're doing pretty good there. Okay. So, team, what I'd love you to do, I've got another question for Brad, which would be the last question I have. I'd love you to put in the chat, though, what has been the most insightful thing you've got from this session today? Biggest gold nugget that you're going to take away from this hot seat. Chuck that in the chat, because it'd be awesome to know what's at home. So I guess my last question, mate, what are the goals for the future for you?
So we have gone through, last year went through quite a lot of expansion, and so we're rolling out, this financial year is about to end. So the next financial year, I really want to get some good results, like on the finance side of it, and have really consistency. So really get a really good rhythm going. That's sort of the thing I want to do this year, which is a big thing for the next year. 3-year plan. I sort of think if I go to there's lots of goals, but if I go to the bigger sort of goals, and 3-year plan is to move out of a workshop and move into a custom built new building, which we'd love to do, something that's built for us, how we want it. Like I said, I bought that building last year, but we're already at capacity there now. So yeah, so that's probably it. And then probably the the biggest goal, probably 5 to 7 years, is getting to a position where I can put a GM in place. So not saying I would do it at that stage, but have it ready to roll at that stage. I'll be sort of getting to a stage in life where I would have been in the business quite a while then, and we're pretty keen to get some more of my time back even. So yeah, and expand a bit more. So yeah, those are probably the three biggest goals over the next 1, 3, 5 years.
Yeah, killer. So that intrigues me, because what would you have said if you and I were talking maybe when we were first kicking around together? What would you have said if you knew the Brad of the future would be talking about a goal of having a GM run his business?
I would have said, what's a GM? I would have thought, it's not like, there's no chance. Like, you're an electrician. Like, it's not going to. I would never have dreamed that big at that stage. Nah.
Yeah. That's killer, and I think that's really important for all of us. Maybe your business is, maybe you're doing 50 or 60 or 70k in revenue a month, and you're looking at some of the black belt business or the guys in boardroom and thinking, well, that's okay for them, but I could never do that. Well, actually, you can. It is a thing, and there are businesses out there in the trades who have 20, 30, 50 staff. The owner is not required to be working in the day-to-day of the business. There's even businesses out there with GMs who are being run. And so you're kind of limited by your imagination, and your ability to be inspired as well, I think is important. Well, I'm not sure what that is, Nephi. There's some funny sounds coming in. So yeah, I think that's a big thing, right? As you grow, you realise that there's I think the bigger you get, the more successful businesses, you realise that there's actually more you can do than you ever thought possible.
I totally agree. Yep.
Which is darn exciting. So cool, man. Okay, well, I'd love to. This has been awesome. I really appreciate this. I'd just love to go through some of the comments here, team. Would be awesome. So let's have a look. Jesse Joe Low. Hire before you need it. Yeah, 100%. Callum, 4-day work week. Kevin said lots. Actually, Kevin had a question. Do you work with commercial as well as residential clients, residential builders?
Yep. So commercial. So the commercial clients I work with is we do price the odd commercial job just to see how it goes. But to be honest, we don't really get them on pricing. We have a couple of companies that we work with who we sort of do their work when it's negotiation with the client, and that's the space we prefer to work in. And when those same companies we work with, one of them particularly, when they go to the open market, we generally don't price for them, but they like us. So when it's a negotiation with a client from the start and they've got the job pretty much, we sort of do those jobs for them, eh?
Killer.
Yeah.
Understand. Okay. Steph, pull the trigger early, not be afraid of growth. Massive. Murray, Knocker Nixon, pull the trigger faster. Darren, hope you're going well, Darren. 4-day work week. Megan, more So refreshing as we've made some of the shifts you have and feel positive about moving forward. So good. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, I think having some encouragement is massively important. Chris, make the big decisions to Stuart. Dean, do not procrastinate. Mitchell, employees can fill other roles better than the business owner can. That's a hard learning as a business owner.
It is. It is a hard learning. Yeah. You know me, Tony. Over the years, I've thought no one can do it as good as me, but now I found a lot of people that can do it better than me.
Yep.
So yeah.
I hear you. Andrew, employ and then create the funnel. Yep. David, keep learning about how to improve yourself and those improvements to improve the team, the quality of your life. Yeah, I think that's a big thing with business. You have to be a better business owner to get a better business fundamentally. So it is an inside-out job,
Indeed.
which is massive. Cody, do it right. Large team is easier when you let go. Get the right people in the right positions. Leads for estimator, etc. Nice. Lee, taking action on decision making and to create change. Forget the fear. Switchboard photos for future work. Colin, little gold nugget there. Thanks, Kevin. Jenny, spend time educating yourself. Dan, employ first, don't let work go and market. Yeah. Brad, Tim Ferriss still wins. He has a 4-hour work week. Ha ha. Well, there's always something to aim for, Brad. Nice job. So, the Brad, really appreciate you, man. Love your work. It's been absolute pleasure seeing how you grow, and I know that there's heaps to come as well, which is massively exciting. So keep up the good work, man, and keep crushing it. Team, I think we all need to give Brad a big double thumbs up to say thank you. So if you can do that in the camera would be awesome. Hey, really appreciate you guys. We'll leave it here. Take good care, and remember the coaching webinar's on Thursday, so we'll get into that as well. All right, team, over and out.
See you, everyone.